Welcome, everybody, to TRB Live. That's right. This is the Resistance broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a great show because we're going to talk about part 4 of Ahsoka called Fallen Jedi. Should be called Fallen Merrick because, let's be honest, one of the greatest characters in the history of cinema, which was only on TV. August 22nd, 2023 to September 5th, 2023. We hardly knew ye. R.I.P. our friend Merrick. So James and Lacey with me as always. And yeah, we're gonna talk all about Merrick and all of the destroyed theories, big and small, crazy and logical. Merrick was Merrick, and that's how we like it sometimes. But a really, really big time episode of Ahsoka. Again, Fallen Jedi, written by Dave Filoni, directed by Peter Ramsey. Stellar work. Again, showing how good things can look and be in the volume, which, you know, we can't say about everything that they've done. So they've maybe found the recipe, and maybe that recipe
they have. They've definitely
is Dave Filoni.
I don't know. They've learned to shoot for it. In this episode, like all the ship parts, especially showed like not the ship in the space. I get that always works, but I'm talking about the ship on the ground. Ahsoka's ship in the forest worked well because they made it have more depth, which then
that's interesting. I have an interesting thought on that, but
okay.
Before we get to anything, first of all, how the two are you doing? Good to see you guys.
I loved this episode, by the way. So good.
Yeah. I think mostly everybody loved this episode. I think this is one of those.
I loved it too. It was great.
Yeah. And we'll get into our ratings in a bit. But before we do that, thanks to everybody who's with us live, or if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, however you're taking in this episode, thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your time with us here at TRB. It means a great deal to us. We're not lost on that. We just ask you, if you don't mind spreading the word about the Resistance broadcast. If you're new to us, welcome. If you're old school, been around for a while, keep telling your friends about what we do here. It helps us grow, and it means a great deal. And of course, our patrons at patreon.com/resistance broadcast. If you do like what we do here, we have 2 episodes every week, but we also have a lot of exclusive bonus content on our Patreon, extra podcast episodes, mini episodes. We do some streams, commentaries. We have a Discord server, a lot of really cool stuff. So if you're down to support us, tiers start at $5. Just head to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. And it helps us out a great deal. So thank you very much. Now, before we get into talking about the show, and I know we have some super chats we're going to get to, so thank you in advance for those already. So awesome. We do have to talk about the fact that we want the studios to get it together, figure out a plan that is suitable enough for everybody to get back to work, because we don't want to be sitting here waiting for new Star Wars to come out, because Ahsoka's halfway done already. We have 4 more episodes of Ahsoka.
Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that till you just said that.
Yeah, and then we have, it sounds like Skeleton Crew's getting bumped, and not sure about Acolyte. So we want more Star Wars. We love Star Wars, and the only way for that to happen is a deal to be made. So get it together, Bob, and all your friends, and let's make a deal and get everyone back into the writing room, the actors, and all that stuff, so that we can enjoy the things we love to escape our real lives. So with that said, Lacey, we're going to get into rating this thing on the Rosarios, but first, let's get to some of those super chats I saw coming in.
We do have a bunch of super chats. So first of all, thank you guys. It means so much to us. Anytime one of these pops up, it's like unreal. So first we have our buddy David Probus, aka Proby-Wan Kenobi, as we like to call him. Also General Greybeard, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Spice Runner Greybeard.
He's part of oh yeah, that's right. He's part of the Beard Squadron in our community.
Is. Yeah.
He said, preemptive super chat, 3rd watch today, and one of my favorite things about the episode are the lightsaber battles. I felt like I was watching a samurai movie. You felt the blows. Incredible.
Thank you, David.
Incredible.
Also, David, I know you had in our Discord server shared some good personal news with us today. So I'm happy for you, and happy for your
happy for you to be here.
Yeah, and happy for you to be here with us too, buddy. So our hearts are with you all the way. Thanks, buddy.
Next is Kyle Beckworth, who switched up his photo. He's now with someone else. Is that Katie Sackhoff?
It looks like it.
Looks like Katie's knockoff.
It's like this big on my screen, Cal. Sorry. He said 10 Rosarios, best lightsaber battle in the Disney era with Balin versus Ahsoka. It was also great to see Brendan Wayne as an X-Wing pilot. It was awesome. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, they killed him.
They really did.
Brendan Wayne's like, I'm finally showing my face. Bam.
I got to tell you, there was a panic inside when I was like, if they killed Carson right now, I'm about to riot. I'm about to.
They showed 2 X-Wings at the end, and I mean, he's obviously one of them, but I don't know who else survived.
Yeah, because one of the girls died, the alien died, and then Brendan Wayne died.
I even went back and tried to rewatch it, and I was like, it's kind of hard to tell who is actually dying here, but and surviving.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I was like, Dave Filoni, I'm coming to your house.
I mean, they killed. I mean, Biggs. They killed Snap Wexley. They don't mind killing these popular X-Wing fighters.
They killed, what's his name, Wayne or whatever from Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forget what his name was. Yeah.
So did everybody else.
Danny's up. What up, Danny? How's it going? She said, and we're back to the World Between Worlds, baby. And she goes like this, and then also included the blue butterfly, which I know is like the Ben Solo little emoji that everybody uses. So I think I was talking offline with John. I think there's a lot of hope that Ben Solo is gonna reappear.
We
will see.
People like pain.
Next is Joseph. What up, Joseph? How's it going? Thanks for the super chat. He said, been too long since I could join. Absolutely love Ahsoka and love y'all. Thanks for all that you do. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
We love you too.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Next up is this guy I don't know named Christian Morales. I don't know who this is.
Is that Chris?
It must be Chris. Christian, make all your names the same on every platform. Stop doing this.
Casual listeners are like, what is she talking about?
What up, Christian? He said, because it has to be done, General Kenobi to James's shirt.
Nice.
Yeah. Well done. Thanks for the super chat.
Thanks, buddy.
Next is Tauroa. Love that name. Can't say it right, so I apologize. Thanks for the super chat. Said, did anyone expect Shin to say to Sabine, didn't I kill you already? I know if I was Shin, I would have said that. I would have been like, why are you here?
I'm going to guess it's Tahuaroa.
Oh, that sounds much better. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I slaughtered it.
Yeah.
My bad.
I could be wrong too, but
I've been saying Mandu all night.
Yeah.
So, to be fair. Thank you so much for the super chat. Yes, I think she should have said, didn't I kill you already? Yes. Next is Mickey Bell. What up, Mickey? Looking sharp in his picture per usual. He said, hey guys, you always compliment my photo. So you all are looking gorgeous tonight. What an episode. I was the Leo DiCaprio sit up meme by the end. Weren't we all?
Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment. But you do look great in your photo. That's why I always say it. But yeah, thanks for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everyone. It means so much to us. And we're so excited to get into this. So let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, so much for all of those. So yeah, we're going to rate this episode now and then dive into it. Each of us are going to go around and give our score from 0 to 10 Rosarios. Halves are allowed. And then we'll average our scores, let you know what TRB gave this episode, and then we'll check in with our patrons who also scored this episode and see what they rated it at and see where we're at comparably. And then we'll get to some comments from our patrons. But to start things off, we're going to go with Lacey for her score on part 4.
I literally was about to respond with, what did I do? I gave this episode a 9. And before everybody hates me because it's not a 10, I gave it a 9 because I thought it was just as awesome as every other episode. So I'm trying to gauge my excitement and hype. And I feel like every episode has had a moment where I'm like, this is insane that this is happening in Star Wars. It is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And to be consistent, it's a 9 for me. And honestly, I don't know what a 10 looks like. And most people would be like, wouldn't this be a 10? I don't know, but for me right now, I think it's out of nervousness. I'm making it a 9 just so that I have somewhere to go from here. But it is higher than most of the Mando episodes that I've rated and or other episodes. So yeah.
Our stuff's kind of tricky because you have to jump to a 0.5 higher. we're like, is it that much better than the last one, or that much worse to like actually knock it down the rank?
I'm being booed in the chat. I'm being booed.
I gave this episode a 9 because I thought it was great. 9 out of 10. I loved almost everything about this episode. There were a few things that made me scratch my head from a visual standpoint, but overall, as close to perfect as you can. Absolutely great episode. Mostly from a visual perspective, story perspective, dialogue, and the lightsaber scenes were knockout. And
these episodes are written so well that there are so many moments that you're like, oh, Filoni, oof. Like so well put, or like the perfect like line that then ends and cuts to the next. Oh my god, so well.
It's almost
this one
too
kind of
good
felt like
for Star
filler
Wars.
to me.
What?
I'm joking. I said this one kind of felt like filler to me.
Ray Stevenson also, I think, would take any Star Wars episode that was, say, a 7 and bump it up on his own. But he's just so good. But James, what do you got?
I also went with a 9. I think the middle and end of this was very good, which would have given it a 9.5. But I did kind of feel like the beginning was a little slow. The biggest action thing at the beginning is just sort of like Huyang fighting the robots back and forth, which they released as a clip, which I thought was kind of interesting, like the day of, the kind of strange move. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if other ones were like a 9, this was like a 9. Like it dipped at the beginning and then went up at the end, so it kind of balanced out for me.
Yeah. So for us, I mean, you don't have to do too much math there. TRB is giving this one 9 Rosarios. There she is on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening,
so pretty.
You basically have a scale and you see 9 of the same image of Rosario Dawson. So,
yeah.
But yeah, 9 from us, and our patrons scored this one a 9.2. So just a little more Rosario for you from our patrons. Both anything above a 9 is entering elite level Star Wars. So Ahsoka has been in great shape. Because I know for the first 2, I think I did 8.5, and then I did a 9, followed by another 9. So we are sizzling, and it seems like everyone is enjoying these episodes as we march towards the rest of the season.
From day one, it was the #1 show on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm interested to go back now and see how it's increased, because it surely has increased. It hasn't gone down, I imagine.
Unlike Rotten Tomatoes' reputation, but yes, it's not like it has gone down.
Yeah, I heard they got hacked like recently. I don't know what that means.
No, people were paying to have certain reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, totally faking what actual reviews are.
What? People need to like go find stuff to do. Like, really?
Well, that's a big deal. They're supposed to be honest opinions, and they were paying people to say the positive things about their movies.
Oh, they're being paid for reviews? Oh, God.
That came out.
I mean, I know people that are critics or reviewers and stuff, but I'm just like, I feel like this day and age with the access of information, people don't need to rely on what critics say about stuff anymore. You just know. You figure.
Well, it was interesting. The people that paid for it / the studios argued like there aren't notable critics anymore, like there used to be. Like people would go to one person for their opinion, so they just pay these like smaller critics to give them good reviews.
I could be wrong, but I thought film critics used to have had some sort of degree or accreditation or certification to be considered an actual film critic. But now it's sort of
associations and stuff.
Yeah, right. But now it seems like it's just like a blogger writes for a trade, and they're people like, oh,
I have no idea.
Full quote for this movie. But anyway, let's get to some couple comments from our patrons about this episode. So we have Darth Snips, who said 10 for me. Snips and Sky Guy. It's all I needed. Can't wait for next week. And then Alex Zukis, back in the base. Good to see you, buddy. He said solid 9. Huyang is a beast. And I can't disagree with that. Huyang's pretty cool.
Did he use a screwdriver in this episode? I didn't really look.
I don't know what he used, but he definitely threw some elbows. That's for sure.
No, I'm saying because Doctor Who, he uses a screwdriver.
Oh my God.
So David Tennant using a screwdriver, and he was fixing stuff.
He may have used a screwdriver. Where's that one shot?
I don't know.
Right here.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He's so good though. His voice is perfect. And we knew that before, obviously, because he's returning, but
Yeah.
Just such
He's good. All right. So before we get into our big overall discussion about this episode, of course, spoiler discussion and talking about our favorite moments, let's get to those 2 super chats.
John's counting. Love it. Do you want to remove that patron score?
Oh, yep.
Although you guys gave it a very good score, so we could leave it up the whole episode because it was a very
Also,
good
it's
score.
just Rosario Dawson on screen all the time.
Yeah, she looks good all the time. Sometimes you see people like that and you're just like, I wish I could just, wake up and look like that all the time. Dave Hornack. Hello. Hello, friend. How you doing, man?
Hi, Dave.
Thanks for the super chat. He said, haven't had this much fun live with you since the 2nd season of Mando. Love the energy that this show is bringing back to the Star Wars universe. I agree. I tweeted out stupid reactions last night and people went nuts agreeing with me. And for once I felt like I was like, this is awesome. I'm having so much fun talking about this show because everybody's in agreement that this is awesome. And there's just something fun about it when everybody's having a good time. Like you feed off that energy. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Michael Moore's up, who's been booing us in the chat this whole time. Thank you for the super chat. He said, if I pay for a super chat, will you change your ratings?
Only on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
JK, love you guys. We love you too, Michael.
Thanks, Michael.
You could still boo me, but I'm right. You can keep booing me. It's totally fine.
The more you boo me, the stronger I become.
Oh gosh, we have one more super chat. Darth Snips, thank you so much, Darth Snips. Said I second that super chat for a change from a 9 to a 10.
Gosh.
You guys are vicious tonight, and I love it. I love it. And we also have Harry. Thank you so much, Harry. I'm pretty sure this is your first super chat who said 10 Rosarios for sure.
Harry
Also,
balls on you.
He's got, not reading that, but he has an awesome icon pic.
Thanks, Harry.
Of like the 90s, like wraparound goggles. He's like, I got a bike helmet on.
I feel like Mo in The Simpsons when Bart calls the bar looking for his friend.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's get into this now. Our favorite moment or shot from the episode, and then briefly explaining why you picked that. James, we rolled the chance dice and it landed on you, so you're going first.
Oh, there's a chance dice?
No. I rotate us as much as evenly as I can.
I usually don't think about when I'm watching the show like, oh, that's going to be my pick for best shot. But I did this week and it was early and then I kind of forgot about it. So maybe I had a better shot later, but I did actually think in the moment, oh, I should use that as my best shot, my favorite shot. And it's so simple. It was Hu Yang or a group of people. I can't remember who it was exactly, but they were just right outside of the ship and the camera just like pans over and there's like a hand standing there and the hand it's like one of the robots or whatever and it just kind of walks away and they do a wipe with it. And it's hard to explain, but I feel like one of the best things I've loved about this show is the cinematography meets like when to change the scene. Like I've noticed the wipes have been very Star Wars-y, and that's a weird thing to say because it's just a transition. But there is something about how the scene is leaving us. Like we're like, oh, and then it moves on to the next scene. And that was just another example of it. It left us feeling like, oh, somebody's watching, and now we know where that's going to go. And it takes us to the next scene. So I just thought, man, it's just so perfectly done. These scene transitions.
Yeah, it was your typical kind of Western shot where you have the hip in the hand. They do that with Han Solo. They do it with but yeah, it was a very kind of interesting transition to show you like what's coming. Although we'll get into it, but overall, I felt like Dave Filoni was like, "Hey guys, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna tell you like 4 times what's about to happen." And we'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah,
I was a little nervous for Hu Yang for a bit there. All good. I was having like PTSD of K2SO. Like anytime one of our friends that are droids are by themselves, it usually doesn't end very well. All right. I'm up. My favorite, it's shot or moment. You guys typically pick actual like camera shots. I usually do moments, and mine is no surprise. It's probably going to be this every week, even if it's not. Baylan Skoll pulling the classic Palpatine / Vader manipulation maneuvers on Sabine, and almost verbatim some of the dialogue. But the shots of him as well, filmed at certain angles to show him as more intimidating and powerful, usually shot from an upward angle, and just everything about how he's captured just feels like it's pulled right out of some medieval story. And he just seems so classic, and how he delivers these lines, even the simplest of lines like experience or anything he says is just like, that's amazing. So he might be one of the best actors to have run through Star Wars.
It makes you so depressed when you watch him too, because you're like, I just want more of this.
I know, and I keep thinking about that, and it's exactly how I felt when I watched like The Dark Knight or The Last Jedi, and it's just like, oh, it's so brutal, and I hope his character has a fitting end. I mean, we'll see, but for now, I'm on the ride, and he can definitely rest in peace knowing that he is entertaining the hell out of all of us, week in, week out. Short, small lines, big parts, big scenes, whatever. He's doing it all, and he's doing a great job. So that moment for me, we'll get into it more during our discussion, because I saw just a ton of parallels, especially something I realized about Sabine on this episode. But that's it for me. Baylan Skoll trying to manipulate Sabine and eventually doing so. But Lacey, how about you? Favorite shot, favorite moment, favorite quote?
So if you've been paying attention at home, my first choices were rack focuses. My second choices were dollies. This is a dolly rack focus shot, which was so beautifully done in this episode. So it's when Shin and Sabine are fighting, and the camera is dollied to the left while they fight to the right, and they rack focus from them fighting in the background to Sabine's helmet in the foreground, while at the same time they blocked the characters to be fighting to the right. So they're pushing to the left, they're fighting to the right, they rack focus to the helmet, and you still see them fighting out of focus in the background. It is an absolutely mesmerizing shot, and I know it took several takes to get, and it is perfection. So Peter Ramsey, I know you worked with a DP on that, but that blocking is definitely him as well. It was stunning. I watched it like 6 times. I called Matt in to be like, look at this shot. This show has had some of the best camera work of any of the Star Wars shows so far.
I feel like there's an underappreciated like cinematographer in this. And I don't know if it's like Dave saying it's got to be like this or something, but some magic is happening in this show when it comes to the camera work.
It's, if people are asking where the shot is, it's right after. So it's when Ahsoka and Baylan are fighting, and then it cuts back to Sabine when she's about to fall to the ground. They open up, like James was saying, with the transition shot of the camera panning on a dolly to the rack focus, and then they cut to them fighting. So that's where it is, if you're looking for it.
Yeah, they use that. That reminded me of the forest duel in TFA. When is it Finn waking up or Rey waking up? It's Rey waking up when Finn and Kylo are fighting, and they're out of focus.
Finn's getting his shoulder hurt.
Yeah,
burning into his shoulder.
Yeah. That's good stuff. All right, let us get into this whole thing, because there's a lot to talk about.
Hold the lettuce.
Yeah, the first, just for the sake of levity, Merrick was just Merrick, and he is gone. And what do you guys think of his demise? I know
I was waiting for you, John, to say he died like a fart in the wind, because you've said that before of like other things on our show, and I was like, literally, this is your moment.
I said that? Fart in the wind?
Well, like you've said it about like other things, not about characters, but I was like, this is a prime example of like you can actually use this phrase to like express what happened.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing is like, I never really expected him to be anybody. I've stood the ground of like, if he is somebody, Starkiller would be cool, but like all the other theories don't make any sense to me. And I just mathematically, I've always said he's likely going to be who he is. What I do think is interesting about his death, though, is they did the Obi-Wan Maul thing again. and they sort of killed him in like a single slash, which was really neat. And I think it was probably more earned and not earned, I don't want to say, but the way that they did it here is if you were a fan that was unsatisfied by that, you still had the Shin Sabine fight going on. So you could just sort of be like, man, these fights are great, instead of being like, there was a lot of build up to that and it was like it ended abruptly. So I think they did it better this time. Well, not better, but you know what I mean? I think they planned that probably a little bit. But the other thing that I think is interesting about Merrick is that death kind of shows you that there was sort of a little bit more to him, because I think the consensus is that's a Night Sister possession.
Yeah, because the same magic that comes out of him is what Ahsoka, when she pulls the map off of the pedestal, is the same green magic that's on her thing that burns her hand.
So like he does still have like a sort of surprise of like, oh, it's not just that character. It's like that character also now has maybe a different alternative version of him where he wasn't being controlled by this magic power. You know, I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. Or maybe he died and the only reason he's still alive is because she's keeping him alive or something. I don't know. It's tricky.
Either way.
But it was cool. I mean, it looked neat and it was surprising.
Yeah.
Visually, it was cool.
It explains why he never spoke or anything. He was just a zombie.
He did speak.
He did speak.
Well, I mean, like, he didn't really speak. He gave like 1 or 2 lines. I'm saying he's not having full conversations with Shin and Baylan and whoever.
He reminded me of, for people who watch Game of Thrones, The Mountain Part 2, where he was just like totally zombified. He reminded me a lot of that.
I know that in Rebels, when characters are, I think that's the only time we've ever seen a Night Sister possession. Maybe not, maybe in like the games or something, but they have glowing green eyes. So I was like, well, that's another reason for the mask too, is that would have like given that little tidbit away.
Yeah. One thing I noticed, and I wanted to look into this because I never, like when it comes to lightsaber fights and stuff, I was never one to subscribe to like the idea of styles of lightsaber fighting and stuff, but I know that Filoni pays attention to that stuff, so I was like, let me try to look into why this happened this way. So I was looking into the Merrick and Ahsoka fight, and I noticed she starts off with her like reverse-handed grips that we know her to use with her 2 lightsabers, and then she observes what he does. And like you were saying, James, sort of like the Obi-Wan Maul thing that Sam Witwer explained perfectly about the different
switching stances.
Yeah, and if you haven't watched that video, watch Sam Witwer explaining the Obi-Wan Maul fight, which in Rebels. It's amazing. But then she switches to the Shi Chu, which is the Form 1 of Jedi, which is holding it straight in front of you. And then she does the second motion of Shi Chu, which is above her head, like we've seen Anakin do.
Right.
So the first one is conservative. And then you see a smile on her face, like, I've got him figured out. She smirks. And then she goes above her head, which is called the intimidation stance, as though her saying, like, this guy's done.
It's like the Matrix, like the...
Yeah. So she goes from those 3 motions, but then when she goes to fight Baylan, she gets so emotionally involved when she realizes Shin shows up and she thinks Sabine's dead, that she gets way thrown off her game completely, and that she loses that battle because of that. So Filoni shows us with Ahsoka channeling this original form of Jedi usage after doing her more nuanced version. And I guess the Shi Chu version, you have to be more in tune with the Force to use that, because it's less skill oriented and more just you trusting the Force. And then he gives us that, which I said like last week, Merrick's going to be used as sort of this storytelling tool to what Ahsoka can do, and then what's going to happen to her. And then she shows up to fight Baylan, and she gets all just disarrayed and messed up.
The moment she showed up and he mentioned Anakin, it was...
And then she grabs the map, and then
I'm
she
sitting there, and I'm like,
Sabine.
calm down.
Yeah, like no part of that duel was she actually in the duel. Her mind was elsewhere. It was on the map. It was on Sabine. It was on everything else around her, which is ironic because she told Sabine, like, you know, watch out for your attachments, do the right thing.
It's the first time we see her snap in these past few episodes, because she's been so... Everybody, and you guys have critiqued this a little bit, is that she's been so kind of like reserved, hands crossed, not much coming from her. So the fact that this is the moment that she then kind of snaps and you see her kind of get a little reckless, obviously.
Besides, of course, when she snapped and made that Inquisitor turn to dust.
Yeah.
Sure, I guess.
But she said, when she tells Sabine earlier in the episode, sometimes we have to do what's right regardless of our personal feelings, which echoes Obi-Wan telling Anakin not to do that.
And that was the first time Filoni's telling you Sabine's gonna do the wrong thing.
Yeah,
She's gonna do the
Ahsoka
wrong
too, though.
thing, guys.
Because
alert.
Yeah.
She's gonna do the wrong thing.
So,
then when you have Huyang go, you guys got to stick together. Filoni's going, alert. They're not gonna stick together.
But Ahsoka, like Sabine tells Ahsoka, do you really believe that? And she goes something like, I have to, not I do. She's like, I have to. In other words, she doesn't, but she's making herself believe that. And then at the end, she shows up and she is letting her personal feelings get in the way because she's worried about everything else besides fighting Baylan in that moment. And she loses. So,
I agree with you. She doesn't say I have to, but the way she answers is definitely not agreeing. It's kind of a blanket, like, it'll be fine or something like that. And you're like, will it? Will it be fine? Will
she
you
doesn't
be
say,
okay?
like, I do believe that. She says, like, something like, it's what I have to do or what we have to do or something like that.
Did you guys get a feeling that people didn't like that Sabine did that she gave over the map? You did not?
Sabine and I are in a fight right now.
That's tough.
Because I feel... Well, go ahead, John.
Well, I was just going to say, I think Ezra would have been disappointed because he did what he had to do.
100%.
I don't know.
Made the tough choice.
It rubbed me the wrong way because it's like with any movie, like, no, don't do it. And they do it. And you're like, oh.
Well, yeah, she's the Star-Lord in, Endgame, where you're like, don't do that stupid thing you're going to do. And then
she's
they do
Anakin.
it and you're like,
she's
right.
Anakin.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that I was like, I'm surprised people aren't reacting to this. And maybe this is my opinion. It won't change your mind. But I've thought that, especially in recent years, it feels like heroes have been people who will weigh one life against the millions or whatever.
She made a selfish choice, 100% selfish.
But well, I mean, I guess I get it. But like when we're talking about, so like, what was it? Mission Impossible Fallout. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but Alec Baldwin's talking to Ethan and he says, you're the guy who will weigh one life against like everybody else. And that's why you're the guy. You know what I mean? You would like, I think Batman would do that or something. You know what I mean?
No,
he would.
I don't think so.
Batman would let like Robin die so that the rest of the city could be saved.
Yes. 100%.
I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like that's a recent thing in history where like you have a hero who's somehow able to like save both.
I think you're comparing apples to oranges here. What Sabine did was completely selfish. She said, I have the chance right now to destroy this. And the moment that Ahsoka said, destroy it, and she hesitated, that was her saying, no, I'm not listening to you. I'm going to do what I want to do.
She thought with emotion and not, it was selfish.
It was selfish.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Ahsoka did.
I'm not saying it was right or wrong, because at the end of the day, she has her own set of values that she thinks what she did is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And when she was in that situation after Ahsoka was gone, it was either, give him the map and take his word for it or die. So she probably was like, well, I'm going to die, so I might as well give it to him and then see where this goes. But the choice of her not destroying the map when Ahsoka said to, after she told her not even 5 minutes prior that she would do it, is a selfish choice. I think a choice for her own benefit, which is to get Ezra.
I think she's just putting Ezra's life that high up,
which she has been since episode 1, when the only reason she's on this journey to begin with is to find Ezra again.
Yeah. Right. And that it's I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I really feel like Filoni's mirroring Anakin here with Sabine.
Yes.
And when I saw Ahsoka and Baylan had her up against the wall and she's yelling at Sabine, and Sabine reminded me of Mace Windu, Palpatine, and Anakin. And he's like, we can't let him live. We can't let him live. And then she's like, destroy it, destroy it. I feel like, and then Baylan's talking to Sabine just like Palpatine talked to Anakin. He didn't say like, maybe we can figure this out. He's like, you will see your friend again if you join me. It's just like that temptation. And she took the bait just like Anakin did with Palpatine. He's like, but then once Anakin took the bait, he's like, Did I say we will? I said maybe we'll find the secret together. And now like Balin's like destroys the map, and he's like, no one's coming with us. We'll figure it out. Like he sucked her in, and she bought the bait. Sabine is Anakin right now, and maybe that's why Ahsoka's so hesitant to want to train her, because she sees the tendencies that Anakin had when he was her master. It's just like,
to be fair, would any of us say no to Balin? Probably not.
I'd be like, dude,
so convincing.
Can we be best friends? Like, let's burn this whole thing down and start a new civilization.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's burn it down and start over.
Shin was not happy about it. I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah. Well,
Shin was like, who is this? What?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, maybe. But the Balin lines, he literally says, it's the only way, which is a Darth Vader line to Luke. And he says, do it, which is a Palpatine line we all know. Right. He's just like all right there. And Filoni loves callbacks on dialogue.
He does.
But I just wanted to say that little bit of piece for me, because I thought it was a big backlash against like Sabine being like really dumb, and I was like,
she is like this is a
dumb.
I wouldn't say she's being dumb.
I feel like this is a pretty common trope among heroes in
it is a common
movies.
trope, but I feel like oftentimes they don't do the wrong thing. So like you gave Batman as an example. He chose Harvey over Rachel, the love of his life, because Harvey was better for the city. So that's putting other people before his own selfish needs.
Wait a minute. No, he chose Rachel.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, yes, he chose Rachel, and he wound up.
He chose Rachel. He went to Rachel to save her, and they flipped. That was the Joker's trick, is that they were in the different locations.
Yeah. Because
but regardless, I think it's one of those things where it's like, give me the bomb or your friend dies, and the hero's like standing there and they give him the bomb, and then they're like, no, you're an idiot. Now what are we gonna do? And then they're like, we'll figure out a way. And then
I still think Sabine acted selfishly, but that's
no, I mean, I'm not saying it's not a selfish act. I'm just saying I was surprised that everybody was so negative on her, when I was like, that seems like something that a hero would do, is they would weigh one life over millions.
It can be a selfish act that you're doing from a good place in your heart. You know, like, she wasn't like,
she had to do it regardless because it pushed the story forward. So whether I personally like it or not is the only reason that the story is going to move forward, is if Sabine gives it up.
I thought you were going to say she had to do it regardless, because I think Balin would have like messed her up.
Oh no, I'm saying like as a writing tool, she had to give it up to progress the story.
But in story, she had no choice. He was giving her the opportunity to live. If she didn't do it, she probably would have died like that captain did at the very first episode.
The best part about that scene is she has control of the situation, because there's nothing Balin could do. She could have walked out of there. The difference, the thing that made it an amazing scene was Balin being able to use the Force to read her mind, to say she's not gonna pull the trigger. She can't.
He did.
I know. He used that against her.
Because they used a sound too. Like when he was looking at her, they used like some Force kind of sound.
Oh, is it the like when Rey like?
Yeah. Tom does bring up a good thing in the chat, which he said, go Spidey and choose both. This is one of my favorite scenes in a superhero movie, where he's like, now choose.
Which lightsaber fight did you guys like best? Was it Balin Ahsoka?
Balin Ahsoka. Oh. That one was so crazy.
They're all so good.
They're all different in their own way.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them all too.
He's so aggressive.
Very aggressive.
And he's huge.
Very Vader. Yeah.
Steve is gigantic.
Huge swings and chops.
Oh my God. It was so fun to watch, because she was doing like her Ahsoka acrobatics, which obviously it's a stunt person too, but Rosario Dawson is holding her own as well. Like, she's killing it. But to see them up against each other with such two different fighters, different body types, different personalities. And someone said it in the chat before I brought it up on screen. I forget who it was, but you know, Balin was treating her like she was the villain. Like the way he was talking to her, the way he was interacting with her, was that he was in the right, which is such a beautiful thing when a villain does that. Like when the villain thinks that they're righteous in what they're doing, which is ultimately terrible, that makes a good villain to me. Like when they 100% believe what they're doing is for the betterment of everyone, even though it isn't. Oof.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I also like when a villain, though, knows they're doing bad things and they still believe in it fully. I think that's the best kind of villain, like Palpatine. Like he didn't think like, I'm doing what's right. He's like, no, I'm a horrible person, and I 100%
Sure, yeah.
believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's the villain you can't wait to get beaten.
To me, I'll go in between that. I think that Balin right now is understanding that he's doing one thing, even though he knows that bad things will happen because of it. He's in that sort of yin yang. Like, I know that if I make this decision, then those people will be upset, and if I do this decision, then those people will be upset, and it's not or dead, or whatever, because he's talking about war. But he's so brilliantly written. I don't remember the lines exactly, but when she walks up, she says, "Oh, and you think war is you're going to start another war?" And he's like, "I'm not going to start another war, but Thrawn surely will."
Thrawn will.
Yeah.
I know that my actions are my actions alone. I'm not the person that's going to do it, but I am aware that because of what I'm doing, it is going to cause other things to happen.
Which goes back to what we were talking about a couple weeks ago about his like power comments. I think he's in it for something else. He doesn't give a crap about Thrawn coming back. He's in it for himself, in it to do something. We don't really know what that is. A lot of people are saying it's money. I don't think it's money. It's something else.
No, we figured it out on the Patreon group chat afterwards. He was in it just for money until he found out about how that was the path to Peridia, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Hold on, if that's real, then we have maybe another plan here."
He seems to be his life didn't go the way he thought it was going to go. He
he survived.
Order 66 happens. He becomes despondent to being a Jedi. He seems to want to restart civilization and start things over. That's what he seems to be all about. Like he said, you need, in order to create something, everything needs to be destroyed. He seems like that type of villain where he's like, I want things sort of like Anakin said, I want to make things the way I want them to be, and I have the power to do that. Like Anakin thought he could just rule the galaxy however he wanted to, and Padme's like, what are you saying? I think Balin's sort of like that. He's like, I want to make things the way I want them to be, and with this new power with Thrawn, I might start a war or whatever, but I can make this new civilization my own or something. That's my theory on it, but I don't know.
Since we keep coming back to Balin, love that alliteration. He had one of the best lines of the show of this episode, which was when Morgan, what's her last name? Blanking. Elsbeth is talking about how like, oh, we need to do this, and she's like, oh, do I sense some fear in what you're saying? And he goes, experience. I was like, oh, that is such a good line. That is so good. And it like holds on him for a second, and you don't sense any fear from him.
No.
He's just coming from a place of knowledge, of knowing what Ahsoka's capable of and what he knows is coming. Oh, it was so good. It was so well written, and I was sitting there going, Filoni, snaps.
That's why,
well done.
Why I'm leaning so much on this like sort of yin yang theory with him, that like Filoni has sort of, I think he could very well be developing the light and the dark and the Buddhist angle that George Lucas sort of had too, where like Balin is very well aware of it. If you do one thing, there's going to be a reaction. If you do something else, like it's this whole balance, and he's just sort of making choices through the whole thing. And in some cases, yes, some of these choices seem dark, or whatever, but he believes that they could also, through the dark, bring light. It's so good, man.
And speaking of light in the galaxy, Carson Tavis in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Paul Sun-Yun Lee is back.
Our buddy Paul's. I screamed out loud when he showed up, to the point that I got in trouble because I almost woke up my baby. That he was in it. As soon as she was like, "It's good to see you here, Carson," I was like, "Yeah," because I'm just so excited.
She goes, "Once a rebel, always a rebel." Am I right? And he gives one of those like, "Oh, geez."
Which honestly, I think he would do that in real life too. Like Paul would also be like,
he's like, after you, Phoenix leader.
My next question though is, where's Zeb?
I know. I know.
I think he's in a different squadron, but it does wonder why. I don't know. I don't know where he is.
He's 100% showing up in this show. We know he's showing up
in this show.
Yes.
Oh, he totally is. Yeah.
He probably
But
is.
John was right. I think,
too.
John, you said this last week. You said that Hera was going to show up to save the day. Pretty sure.
Oh, I thought she was going to last episode, and she didn't
Well,
show up.
she kind of did save the day in the sense of she showed up. I don't know if she
Yeah.
saved the day.
Yeah, I was like, kind of.
She did the best she could.
But you were right to say that she showed up.
Yeah, and letting her son come along in the danger. She's just throwing him right into the mix.
It's probably better than leaving him.
If there was a moment there, guys, at the end, which first of all, why would you ever fly into something when it's about to make the jump? We learned this from Last Jedi. What are we doing?
They all saw it.
I know this is before Last Jedi, so they don't know this yet. But anyway, when they're flying towards it, and I literally was like, if Filoni kills Paul right now, I'm going to buy a plane ticket, figure out where he lives, and strongly tell him I didn't like it. Because I'm not going to do anything physical. That'd be weird. But like, I'll be like, how dare you do this? Because Carson is so lovely. And every time he shows up on screen, I'm like, yes, keep getting work. Keep being in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think
there was a moment there I was very nervous.
For best shots of the show, it's up there. The Ghost and the X-Wings flying with like Home One and all the other like Rebel fleet. I'm like, this is straight out of Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah, when Home One first pops on screen and that more like upbeat rebellion music, but when it's not during dangerous time, it's like and you're like, I feel anytime we're at like a New Republic base, I feel like it's just very safe. Like we're not in any sort of Pearl Harbor situation. It's just like they change the music, they make it lighter. This guy's acting goofy, like. What should I say? I don't know. Should I say something? What should I say? I'm like, all right, that's where Jason Syndulla should be hanging out right now, not about to get sniped by hyperspeed 6 turbo engine light speed holdo maneuvers.
That was a bad decision. However, the Ghost looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks good.
Looks really good.
Yeah.
Do we want to get to some super chats?
Yes.
Yeah, let's get the super chats, and then we definitely have to talk. We haven't really talked enough about, in my opinion, the Sabine lightsaber duel with Shin, and then the end. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course, the end. The end.
Or we also didn't talk about that Rock'em Sock'em Robots battle very much.
Right. Hu Yang just throwing elbows. Yeah.
Like literally like
Diamond Figs, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. He said, peak Star Wars is here, in all caps. Digging this chat. Can't wait for next week. What a great time to be a Star Wars fan. I'm so jealous of the people that get to watch the episode in the movie theater, because I really tried, but they were already gone, and I don't live directly near something. So
thank you, Diamond Figs.
Yeah, Mike Lovins is up. What up, Mike?
What up, Mike?
Love the pick. Thanks for the super chat.
I just said this.
I did not have Rock'em Sock'em Robots on my Ahsoka bingo, and I'm now more convinced than ever that Sabine will not use the Force.
Ooh.
I like how they did it in this episode, though, where she was like, "You have no power," and then she just shoots her.
Yeah, it was.
That's such a Mando.
That
thing
was
to
really
do.
cool. That was really cool.
It shows that she had power despite it. Like in a weird way, it's sort of that like Rey nothing argument of like, just because she's nothing doesn't mean she's not nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mandalorians, we'll go back to Batman. Mandos are like Batman and Jedi are like Superman.
I mean, that's a good comparison. Except they don't have a lot of money, whereas Bruce Wayne has a lot of money.
He does have a lot of money.
Mandos have a lot of money. Like look at like Satine and the
palace.
And I guess.
Yeah.
Depends what Mando you're talking.
They don't have as much money these days.
Sabine's whole family is very dead now. I was going to say rich and powerful. Yeah.
The Joker killed Sabine's family.
Next is David Probus. What up? Welcome back again.
Hey, buddy.
Thank you, David. He said, to be fair to Sabine, Ahsoka was unbalanced because of her attachment to Sabine.
Exactly.
So both goofed in this.
Yep.
Exactly. Yes, but Ahsoka wasn't responsible for Thrawn coming back and possibly murdering a ton of people. I almost just swore a ton of people.
But to David's point, if she would have focused, if she would have focused up a little bit more, she might have been able to throw Baylan off instead of worrying about Sabine.
Yeah,
I think is the point there.
It seems like she was off, right? But she seemed like she was gonna be okay until Sabine rolled up, and then she was like, well, now what?
Well, also the sacrificing her hand, which she clearly needed to match the strength of Balin for the sake of taking the map off the thing. That messed her up.
Peter Ramsey did an amazing job doing the typical action movie stuff where he'd cut between like the syncing of the computers and then the fight and then the syncing of the like, oh, a little bit more and then the cut back. It was so well done with the way the set was.
I hated that droid. She goes, "How much longer?" And it goes, "Moments." I'm like, that doesn't help.
Moments? Yeah, that's like in Star Wars.
I want a time, bud.
The Death Star will be in range in 30 minutes. And then like 10 minutes later, it's like the Death Star will be in range.
How long is it going to take me to get to McDonald's from here? And it's like, quick, fast. I'm like, no, I want like minutes.
So I saw a few people online, I can't take credit for this, say that they think because she burned her hand with the map that she's sort of downloaded the info now. Just like the robot did, the droid did in the first
Some
episode.
people said that, or she had it on her hand or something.
It's like,
I think she's like Home Alone
is burning.
Yeah.
Got the McAllister M on the palm of the hand.
mean, it's one of those things that anything is possible, so you can't say yes or no. Like, they'll figure it out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong on this. The tracker that Chopper put on their ship, was that just their like transport to CTOS, or that wasn't on anything that they could find Thrawn with, right? Remember he got that tracker?
It was on Shin's. Oh no, it was on the ship that brought the engine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's just on a transport ship that brought the engine there. So that ship probably has been going just back.
They
and
could
forth.
find that. That doesn't mean they could find Thrawn through that. So it's going to be.
I think that's too far.
It's going to be the Purgle Express,
that tracker
right?
Probably doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be the old John Henry story. They use technology. We're going to use the Force and mystical stuff. Yeah.
Well, you think they go to the other galaxy? I'm just assuming they already left and they're like, all right, and then they come back. When they come back, Thrawn's already here. Ezra's here. Sabine's back. They went on the journey. We never saw the other galaxy. We just
some more Purgle adventures, though. You know.
I mean, we might see the other galaxy. We might see them when they're there, but then I would imagine just they come back. You don't. Have
the
to
only
explain.
reason, sorry, we'll get to Brendan's super chat in a second, but I didn't want to lose this thought. That happens to me often. I didn't want to. I don't want to lose the idea of taking the Purgles because I think they're more important to the Grand Mandoverse because, remember, we saw
they're
Grogu,
in the end credits.
And we saw Grogu seeing them flying through hyperspace, and he was like, whoa. So there's a reason they've been peppered into
I think they're
going to
use them.
Too.
I think they're going to use them because they have Hu Yang talks about how they used to use them to get to other galaxies. Like he sets that up in the last episode. So
he said
I think you're right.
People used to use them to go to other galaxies.
Yeah, they would follow where the Purgles go to like hyper lane type things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, thanks, David. Appreciate it. Sorry, long-winded answer there. Brennan's up. What up, Brennan? Thanks for super chat. He said, can't stay but had to show love. Ahsoka is approaching S tier Star Wars for me with A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but TRB has already achieved S tier podcast status. Thank you. Have a good show. No, appreciate it, Brennan. You're the best.
Thanks, Brennan. Appreciate it, man. Thanks, everybody, for those.
So we have Shin lightsaber battle and the end, which I'm sure everybody wants to discuss.
I do have one quick critique, and Lacey, you had said it looked great. There were some shots around the fulcrum that I thought looked like when you go to J.C. Penney's and they're like, we're going to put a wooded background behind you for your photo. There were some shots.
Stop.
Yeah. There were some shots. I'm like, that looks a little stationary for me. But
no, they did a good job with camera movement to make it work better. And I think also the leaves falling from the trees helped too to create some depth.
In most shots,
think there's only one shot, John, because it was the one that I felt like I noticed. This was the first time I'd noticed the volume. And I think it's when she's standing at, like when they said Sabine's outside.
Yeah.
And she goes out there.
You mean Ahsoka's outside?
Or Ahsoka's outside, yeah. And Sabine walks out there.
Yeah.
I think she's like standing there looking away from the ship. And there's like one shot where you can almost sort of see the line.
Deal.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like it's okay to like critique,
but I think it's just the one shot. Yeah.
Okay. So the Sabine and Shin duel, I dug it. Did you guys think the focus, like Lacey's favorite shot, the focus on her helmet was like showing her sort of abandoning that way? Or do you think it was just saying like, reminder, she doesn't have her helmet right now? Like, do you think there's more metaphor to that?
I think it was showing that she was being sloppy. She threw her helmet off. She's being sloppy. Like she's letting her emotions get to her, which Ahsoka warned her in previous episodes. Like, hey, I know you get frustrated. You can't go to frustration.
Did she take her own helmet off or did it get knocked off? I don't remember, honestly.
I don't remember. I think she
remember.
Probably took it off.
I know.
I don't think Shin's knocking off her helmet.
I know one thing that was really cool was actually seeing her with the helmet on and running around and being like Mandalorian-esque.
Yeah, with the wrist stuff.
Yeah, like the way they were fighting when she had the helmet on. And I was like, man, this is a really good way for people who have been watching The Mandalorian to get into the show and be like, I don't know who any of these characters are, but that one's really cool because they can connect with how she has this Mandalorian thing. And I think I said that on an earlier episode. It's like, I had sort of forgotten, like I know, but I had sort of forgotten that she had this strong connection to Mandalorian. So when we're bringing in this character or Mandalore, she
People
has
are
this
saying it got
connection
knocked
to the
off.
TV show.
She was thrown against a tree and it got knocked off the helmet. So I apologize. I misremembered that.
But she uses the Force a little bit, which is more than she's ever done as far as we know. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it was cool to fake out where like we thought from the trailer, oh, Sabine's going to use the Force, and then she winds up using a Mando.
I thought she was going to pull the lightsaber.
Oh, did you? I didn't know what was going to happen.
But she lost the lightsaber and then she reached out and I thought it was going to whoop right to her or something. And then she was going to keep fighting. But
I loved what they did
better.
They had her use the Mando weapons instead. That was so cool. And then Shin, like, I guess this is like the Batman podcast. She pulled like a Batman vanishing gas. She's like,
yeah,
that's true. He did.
And then I thought that was a good fight too.
Oh, how cool would it have been if she used the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon like fast run
sprint? Yeah,
that would have been sweet.
See, yeah, I'm seeing one of the comments here on the screen saying they thought it was an analogy. I thought it could be too because they really put a focus on that her helmet was there. So and we all knew her helmet was off because we see her face. So I was thinking like, is that her choosing the path of the Jedi more than the Mandalorian? Sort of like Grogu turning away the choice given to him by Luke, lightsaber or armor. So I don't know. It's that Sabine really is like, I'm not saying overshadowing the story, but she is definitely the most complex character right now. I mean, Ahsoka's going through it, and we're going to get to it in a minute about the end of this. But like Sabine is like on an Anakin path right now, and I'm so curious is it going to be Ezra that centers her when they finally find him? Is Ahsoka finally going to open back up to her and connect with her? I don't know, but I think a lot of it has to do with what ends up happening with Ahsoka, which I think twisted all of us up. What do you guys think of that?
Think of what? Sorry,
what happened to Ahsoka?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I thought that opening shot of her upside down was awesome because then it did the tilt up and she's sitting up and you realize like it's kind of like the metaphor of like she's not where you think she is because she's upside down. And then she's like waking up somewhere else. I think the obvious thing to start was when I watch, these shows with the subtitles on, just so I can see things, learn people's names, etc. And it said mysterious voice, hey Snips. I was like, oh, it's happening. Oh, we're doing this. Plus, it sounds like Hayden Christensen, but I'm saying like, oh, we're really gonna see this. But I know immediately my questions were, it's Anakin, but then Darth Vader's theme plays.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things that I'm like, I know obviously there's a connection there where he is Vader, but you're like,
wait, what?
Like, what is going on? Like,
yeah.
Because what we know of the world between worlds has always been a tricky situation with the whole, like how Ezra was dealing with it. So it's like, it's tricky.
Yeah, if you had told so there's several things that happen in that scene, and what's clever about it, like you say, Lacey, is if you remove just one of them, you could say like, oh, I think it's definitely this. So if you remove the Vader music at the end, be like, that was Anakin.
It's Anakin
because he said Snips. Like,
yeah,
who from a dark side realm knows that that's her nickname? You know, so that I think using snips is to say like, no, this is Anakin. We want you guys to know this is Anakin. And then they de-aged him, which they did not do in Kenobi, which
he looked great.
It may have just been a production.
I mean, it's on the
decision,
screen. He looks great.
But they wanted us to know that this was, you know, pre-Order 66 Anakin. So which I don't know that means it's Force Ghost Anakin or what. And then he's wearing his Revenge of the Sith outfit, the Clone Wars outfit. He's got the long hair.
Because Return of the Jedi, he was wearing robes, right?
He was in like, it was basically the outfit that they had Sebastian Shaw in, essentially. It was like the old, like Obi-Wan old Jedi robes.
Where does robes go, Filoni?
So the question is it somehow prequel era Anakin and he discovers a world between worlds and he like pulled Ahsoka in before she hits the rocks or something? Like, in other words, saving her the way Ezra pulled her out? Or is this a manifestation like Palpatine was trying to manipulate Ezra in Rebels? I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just putting out all the things that were going through my head. Do you guys have... Are you leaning one way or another?
Yeah, I just want to throw this out there. People are pointing out that Vader's lightsaber was on his hilt. Not.
It was Vader's lightsaber?
Yeah.
That screws it up again.
It's Vader's lightsaber on the hilt? Well, to me, my thought on it is that it's not the real like Anakin, like still alive, somehow knows about the world between worlds and went in or whatever. I think that opens up too many doors.
Yeah.
Of like her having the ability to be like, hey, don't do what you're about to do.
People are arguing in the chat now that it's Anakin's lightsaber or Vader's lightsaber, which I love because it's the dorkiest argument.
I mean, but it could give a little bit of insight if you could figure it out.
Let me try to pull it up.
It was funny to me. I was flipping this through my head earlier, and I was like, so what happens in the scenario where Ahsoka's like, don't do what you're going to do because it messes everything up and it's not a good decision. And he's like, oh, weird. Okay. So he turns around and he goes back to like Revenge of the Sith. And he's like, man, I'm going to have to listen to her because I wasn't going to kill Padme.
No.
I guess I'll kill Padme.
Then this becomes Back to the Future or whatever. It's just
that's what I'm saying is I was kind of making a joke there. Like, he's like, oh, do something different. All right, cool. I was going to let her live.
Then James, you flash to the end of the movie and Palpatine is waxing Anakin's car.
Exactly. Yeah. So
now Shivi.
That's definitely Vader's hilt, by the way, guys.
Not one.
That's not the legacy hilt. That is Vader's hilt. It's black. It is hilt. It is Vader's.
So, okay. So that
and he's got his robo arm. He has the glove of the robo arm.
I saw that. Yeah.
My real thought was that this was just his entity because once you're in like the cosmic force or whatever, he just knows, oh, there she is. Okay, I'll go to her and I can talk to her now that she's here. I can't explain necessarily why she got there other than if she did in fact die, maybe there's a connection because of her and the world or the Mortis and everything. I don't know why she's there necessarily. But it is interesting. You're right with we all heard the music and it was so brilliantly done.
The subtitle is Vader's theme. In the subtitle.
Because what? Yeah. But I'm saying like the way it was put together is like it plays the tune and then the very last note holds out and it's the root note of the
first note of the
Ahsoka theme.
The end titles. Yeah.
So it's like cool. Blurred together perfectly. So I'm thinking now that there's a chance that this is, I don't know, like the spirit of Vader and it's manipulative or something. I don't know. I actually,
Sam in the chat has a theory that it's the Anakin that she last saw in Clone Wars season 7.
Yeah. Everything about that Anakin is essentially Revenge of the Sith Anakin. He has his Mechno arm. Mm-hmm. He has his long hair. He has the exact same outfit that he was wearing in Revenge of the Sith. I don't know about the lightsaber thing. To me, it sounds like one of those things that we're over analyzing. Maybe it's just Anakin's lightsaber and it looks dark in there. I don't know.
It's definitely black. It's not like covered or anything. Like
I noticed it looked dark to me too. And both Vader's and Anakin's are like silver. Like Vader's isn't black either. I have
no. It has a silver in the middle, but the handle is black. He's got it in a thing like. although it's clipped to his belt. I guess you're right. I guess it's not really in it like a whole.
Yeah, lightsabers just dangle from their belts. So you can see
so
full
the
hilt.
lightsaber is black, then a little bit of silver, and then black.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like either of theirs, honestly.
What does Palpatine's lightsaber look like? If we're gonna get real nerdy.
Palpatine's was like all silver.
The silvery one, yeah.
Right. It really looks weird, right?
I don't know what to make of this. I'm not going to speculate too far on it, but I will say what I hope it's not. And I, like James said, I hope it's not Anakin. We're retconning, and Anakin found the world between worlds before he turned into Vader, and he's like saving Ahsoka or something. I'll start from where I went into why I would think Anakin would be in this show, and I thought that he would appear in the series to help Ahsoka find her way back to being a Jedi, because it's like unfinished business for him. It's like a closure. Like, I failed her just as much as I failed my family, because she is like family to him. I don't know what that means for this. I don't know. I honestly don't know what to think of this. It sounds sinister because of the music, but if that music wasn't there at the end, we all would have been like, "Oh my god, it's Anakin," and that's it.
Yeah,
but the music
I want you to think that. Yeah,
the music is what makes it all wacky, and what we've seen before with World Between Worlds too, which could be a lot of different things.
It could be, that's the thing, is like, I think we're basing all of our theories on what we know about the World Between Worlds, and not necessarily about what the World Between Worlds could be. We've seen one aspect of what it could do, pulling people in and out of different areas, but we're hearing voices, and now maybe there's people who regularly walk around in the World Between Worlds, dead or alive. It's like, who knows?
I don't know.
But it's interesting, John, because this is like when Darth Maul came back, and now officially, like, there's no end to that. We at least had a little bit, because I've stood on this for a very long time, me and you both, I know, is that the World Between Worlds was something that existed, and then they shut the door and it's gone and it's never coming back.
That's the only thing that makes me nervous about the World Between Worlds. I want to hear what you guys think about this. It's like Dave Filoni created it, and he's the one using it again. So I trust Dave Filoni as a storyteller, and also him trying to make sure he still doesn't skirt too far away from what George Lucas built. I'd like to think that he's going to take like the Jedi path and not abuse this or overuse this, because this can really become a dangerous storytelling tool, because it can be a crutch. They can lie to us in a lot of ways and revert things. He has to resist the temptation to take whatever this World Between Worlds thing is too far, because then we're entering Marvel territory where it's like nothing matters. You can kill half of your cast and you could bring them back somehow via other time portals and stuff. I don't know. To me, it's dangerous because it can be a heavy plot scapegoat. But I'd like to think he's going to use it minimally. But until we find out what this version of Anakin is, I don't think we understand how big they're going with it.
I think this does set up some truth to how episode 5 could be the best of the season, though.
Well, that's why Filoni's directing and writing it, right? We all knew that coming into this, that he's doing both those things. It's going to be a big episode. And the funny thing is, as soon as it ended, I was sitting there going, "Oh my God, Dave's episode's next week."
Well, he wrote every episode.
I know, but he directed this one.
Yeah.
Yes, I know he wrote every episode. But this next one, they're also putting it into theaters. So they're paying for that ability to play it into theaters. They think it's going to be a big episode for fans. They're also putting it out an hour before it airs for everybody else at 9. They're putting it out at 8. So.
Oh, it's at 8 next week?
Well, it's at 8 for people in the movie theater. It's at 9 for everybody else.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So stay off social media.
Yeah, definitely do. But yeah, no, I knew the moment that we all kind of knew that when Dave announced he was doing the episode 5, we were like, okay, well, Ezra and Thrawn are probably showing up, and this is probably a big episode. So it's going to be bananas. I think Hayden looked great, by the way.
I don't think anybody called that, though, as far as we all thought Ezra, Thrawn, Rex, or where was the big episode 5 connection, but I don't think anybody saw that. None of us at least said that That's the one where Anakin shows up.
They have to pick up right there, right?
They don't have to, but they will.
They have to.
They have to. Yeah.
Because whenever everyone watches, they're just gonna be like blurred vision, like not hearing, in one ear out the other, waiting for. We want to see what was happening there with Anakin.
So the assumption would be that if they didn't pick up, then Ahsoka would not be in that episode at all. Because they could show other stuff, but they would have to completely just divert. And
they'll show it. It's just a matter of when in the episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Do you guys think we're seeing the... Oh, go ahead, Lacey.
I was going to say, do we want to get to some super chats? Because there are some that have been sitting here for a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So Harry's back again. I refuse to say your full name. Thank you so much. He said she made a smoke bomb from Eric's body. Totally.
Oh, there you go.
That thing disappeared. Thanks for the super chat. Next is Roger 5171. Thank you for the super chat. Said there were 9 sections in the star map coordinates. Stargate uses 9 chevrons for its space travel, 8 points to plot any point in space, and 9th for the point of origin. Roger. First of all, thank you for the super chat. Well, not first of all, I already said that. So second of all, thanks for the super chat. Third, this might be the nerdiest super chat we've ever gotten. So congratulations, you've unlocked that achievement. I don't know what any of this means, and I feel really dumb right now, but I appreciate your insight.
Well, Stargate's a Kurt Russell movie, right?
In the series.
Stargate's a show. Yeah.
It was a movie first. And then...
right? No, she's Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah. I gotta watch Stargate, I guess.
Apparently.
By the way, after last week's episode, someone put in the chat how the map at the end credits had been like translated, and I went and like double checked it all, and I'm like, yep, all of that is correct. You can see certain words, and you can write down that symbol. I'd written it all down and put the map together and stuff, and you can break down all the planets that they're showing, and that one where they end up at the very end, it's Peridia. So it's like it all leads to Peridia, and obviously that makes sense. But all the other planets are planets in our galaxies. There's Lothal, Mandalore.
But is Peridia a planet in the new galaxy, or is Peridia the new galaxy?
No. Peridia is the dot. Well, I mean, I guess you don't know, but it seems like it's the dot where all the lines end up. So I would assume it's the planet.
All right.
I took Pathway to Peridia as like the place you're going is Peridia, the planet, and it just happens to be in a different galaxy.
Right.
So next we have Luke, our buddy.
Yo,
what up?
Hey.
Thanks for the super chat. He said, "What's up, TRB? What do you think of the Vader theme after seeing Anakin?" We talked about that a little bit, so sorry this is a little delayed. It was really cool, really creepy, left you thinking. Left you going, oh, what?
Yeah, do you guys remember the Star Wars has never done this, at least with the movies. I know with the shows they've done end credit scenes and stuff, but the very last thing you hear at the end of The Phantom Menace is Darth Vader's breathing at the end of the credits.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this is like Filoni's nod to that for George Lucas, but it's also it's playing a role here. Because obviously, if you watch Star Wars from episode 1, start there, and you hear that breathing, you're like, that's foreshadowing. They're giving you a hint. Is this a hint at that this isn't Anakin? This is something else,
I took it as like everything isn't what you think it is, which I feel like is Filoni's way of creating these stories. Is like, don't assume you know everything. It's not going to go the way you think it is.
Right. And I'm not saying it's going to be, because Palpatine, it was shown that he put the voice of Vader in Kylo Ren's head. He was never speaking to his grandfather that whole time. It was Palpatine the whole time. And here we hear the music. We didn't hear Vader breathing or anything. We hear the music, which is not in story because these characters aren't hearing the music. That's just for us to listen to throw us off the path.
Yeah,
which I love because none of us know. We don't know, and it's great.
Do you think it would make people mad though if like next episode it just like it isn't Anakin and it's just like something else?
Probably.
That's what I'm saying is I feel like the best path here is just like that's Anakin in some way, shape, or form, whether it's as human or it's like a force ghost or it's like a spirit or an entity or a memory or something. It is truthfully Anakin, and it's not going to be like a here, come with me, I'll take you there. No, I'm a monster.
All right, if it's not
You know?
Anakin, it has to be a manifestation in Ahsoka's mind, because he says, I think the reason why they start with "Hey Snips" is to let us know, like, this is between the two of them. So if he's not actually saying it, it's in her head, and
Could
she
be a
wanted
Ben
to hear
Solo
that.
moment.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, like, she goes,
like
you're
with-
just a memory,
with
and he
Han
goes, your
Solo.
memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start there.
She's
maybe
telling herself what she needs to hear. Maybe.
Yeah, it's in her mind, and it would make sense in a very Clone Warsy rebel sort of way, where she's hearing like the dark side, and we're not sure what it is. I maybe it's a manifestation in her mind. I don't know.
It might also be that they have the conversation and she walks out and they don't ever answer the question, and Filoni goes, "It's what you think it is."
Oh yeah, love that.
Well, Luke, thanks for the super chat.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks to everybody for the super chats. Awesome. All right. So anything else before we hop on out of here?
I can't wait for next week. This episode was bananas, and this
Are
show
we-
is like getting to a point that like my anxiety is getting high. When
Lacey-
you know it gets good when I'm anxious about it.
Palms are sweaty, mom spaghetti.
My palms are okay right now.
All right.
The most hyped I got during the episode was because I didn't think Ahsoka like died. We don't know if she died, but didn't get hurt at first, because usually they do like I'm off the cliff and then like they're grabbing on, or there's a ship there. I thought there was gonna be a ship there or something.
Oh, another Marty McFly moment.
Yeah. But my two moments were definitely Carson Tevez when I freaked out the first. I was like, yeah, Carson. And then Anakin showing up, because I was like, oh, they did it. They went for it this early, and they're putting him out on promo stuff now. Like they're going for it. But I just know that like I'm like, oh god. As soon as the Vader theme hit is when my anxiety went through the roof.
Part 5,
Well,
Thrawn.
don't-
Yes or no, Lacey?
Oh wait, don't forget about.
I've said this the whole time. Thrawn and Ezra are showing up in 5.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Don't
Ezra
forget-
too. All right.
We have lines of dialogue of Anakin from
In the
episode
trailer.
5.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he says, I believe you can do this. So
You can do this, Ahsoka. Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely a positive thing. I mean, it may go dark, but definitely like he's going to be giving her a positive reinforcement.
Oh yeah, and I have to bring this up too. Sunflower, thank you so much. In the chat brought this up, and I thought this too. The transition where the camera goes to the left from the ocean that then goes into like the star matter of the world between worlds was a beautiful transition.
Yeah. It reminded me a lot of the overhead shot of Octo on Last Jedi.
Yeah. It
I
was
want to
really-
watch these shows with Dave, so Dave can break it down. He's like, well, the reason we're moving east to west
Well,
is
that's
because
the-
of the
Isn't that the
like
beauty
all
of
this
that
stuff.
because artists will always say they did something on purpose, even if they didn't, if they like it.
Also, John in
I
the chat
think-
saying I
I
missed the-
believe Dave when he says he did it on purpose, though.
Yeah.
No, Lacey, if she's not superly entertained or likes my references, she just completely ignores them.
Yeah. Harry's back one more time. What up, Harry? He said, "Love the show. Keep up the great work. May the force be with you." Thank you for the super chat, Harry.
Thank you, Harry. The Harry trilogy is complete. Thank you, Harry.
But yeah, no, I didn't mean to talk out of turn here. But yeah, no, I never miss any references or jokes by John. I've just gotten to the point that I ignore them.
Sometimes she loses herself in the music, and that happens too. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. James, did you have anything else? I feel like we've talked about everything.
Yeah, no, I think that's
All right.
everything.
All right. Thank you to everybody for listening and watching. Being a part of TRB means a great deal to us. We mentioned our Patreon at the top, the lifeblood of what we do here. So if you can, go to patreon.com/resistance broadcast. Tier start at $5. Sign up, get some extra content, Discord server, a lot of cool stuff as you go up the tiers. But a special shout out to our generals and spice runners. Generals Carmelo, John RISI, JETTA Rosewater, Frank Grande, Darth Hurricane, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, or Christian, depending on what platform he's on. Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Danny, Mike Ramori, Matt Heath, Brendan McLaughlin, Count Pepto, Sneaky Zebra, Aaron Ellington, Colin Cormier, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Diana and Dave Hornack, and our Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, Michael Fry, and the Fort Worthian. And thank you all, whether you listen, watch, however you take in TRB, thank you all so much for going on this ride with us. These past few weeks have been a good time, and we're going to keep that rolling with.
Oh my God, we're halfway done.
Halfway done with Ahsoka.
No,
part 5
guys.
next week.
Season 1 question mark.
I know. Yeah. Will there be a part 9? Yeah.
I don't want this to end.
But yeah, for me, obviously subscribe to us on every platform, Apple, Spotify. If they have a rating system, rate us, all that stuff. That takes a few seconds. We appreciate that. For me, Johnny Hoey on X and Blue Sky and Threads, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We just did Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando, which I heard was heavy inspiration for Ahsoka. So, James, how about you?
Both X and Instagram at Myra Trunks. And what was our joke from last week? We were talking about you have to watch Superman 4.
Superman 4: The Quest for Peace.
You get caught up
on
Ahsoka.
Yeah. Classic films. Lacey, how about you?
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Monday show.
Okay. Yeah, you can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran on all the different platforms. I refuse to call Twitter by its new name because that's stupid. I refuse. And you can find me on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran. And then recently, as in like a couple hours ago, we just put up a Hasbro roundtable with the Hasbro Star Wars team where we talked about the Ghost HasLab, which ends tonight. We're airing this on Wednesday, 9/6. So you have approximately one more, maybe 2 hours to back it. It's fully backed, so all the characters were unlocked. But I got to sit down and chat with the team there to talk about the process of making the Ghost HasLab, as well as what it was like to work with Doug Chang, which I told them I was like, I'd be geeking out if I was on a video chat with Doug Chang. But yeah, if you can take a second to like it and watch it and let me know how it is, I'd appreciate it. And share it.
Yeah, share it for sure. Thank you, everybody. And we will be back with you on Monday with another episode of TRB. And then, of course, next Wednesday night for part 5 of Ahsoka. So a lot of us coming your way. But until then, enjoy the rest of your weeks. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you next time with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around, kids.